Disaster relief organizations such as FEMA in the United States have, perhaps unsurprisingly, looked into disaster preparedness. For our purposes, disaster is being defined as a situation or a set of circumstances, either man-made or natural, so severe that absent rescue or relief, there's a high probability of harm, up to and including death. The results of the disaster preparedness research by FEMA and other relief organizations found that survivors of disasters may need to wait for up to 3 days before rescue or relief may arrive. And this led to their recommendation to members of the public to put together what they call a 72-hour bag, sometimes more commonly referred to as a bug-out bag or a go bag or a get-home bag. Whatever you choose to call it, it is essentially a portable bag that you can take with you in the event of a disaster or an evacuation, in which there are resources available to you to help you to manage to look after yourself and perhaps a few family members as well for a period of at least 3 days, hence 72-hour bag. In this series, we're going to look at the individual components of such a bag, with a view towards helping those of you looking to assemble a 72-hour or bug-out bag in making better and more informed choices about the kit you choose to put in it. So in last week's video, we had a look at two-way radios, a backup means of staying in communication if you are in a disaster situation with a companion. Whether you're with a companion or on your own, finding out what's going on in the outside world if you are cut off is important, which is why the next piece of kit that we're going to look at in part 2 of this series is also a radio, but in this case, a somewhat more standard one for listening to broadcasts about what's going on. Stay tuned. Disaster preparedness and disaster response organizations have long recommended having a radio available so that you can find out what's going on. For example, there may be a staging area for rescue, or there may be something like, for example, fire moving in your direction. You need to know about these things, and having a radio is an important way of dealing with that. There are radios made specifically for the purpose of emergencies, and this is one of them. This is the DE13. It is fairly small, fairly compact, and quite light in weight. And if we take it out of its packaging, it does have a charging cable and some instructions. We'll have a look at those more in a moment. As you can see, judging by the size of my hands, this is not very large. It's a bit wider. It has a solar panel across the top. And it has 2 lots of batteries in it. If we have a look under here, we have some AAA batteries, and this runs off those just fine. In addition to the AAA batteries, in this separate compartment, there is a set of rechargeable batteries, which when you first get it, they're not plugged in, but once you plug them in, you're kind of good to go. You'll also notice that there is a crank handle here because you can charge the radio like so. And when you are doing it, you'll notice that green light lighting up there is showing that it's charging. That light will also come on when it's solar charging. Obviously, if you have this in the sun all day, just like so, just put it down, let sunshine get to it. That green light will come on and it's charging. Now, I won't tell you how long it'll charge, or it'll play for once it's charged by the sun, but suffice to say, if you drain this down to 0 and put it in full sunlight, you should get a few hours. Now, whether it's an hour, hour and a half, or 2 or 3 hours depends a lot on, is it direct sunlight, is it indirect sunlight, is it the summer when the days are longer or the winter when the days are shorter. So obviously those will impact on the actual lifespan of it, but you will get, on average, a couple of hours from a full day's charge. Also, if you use the hand crank, 2 or 3 minutes should give you the best part of half an hour. This has a volume control on the front, as well as switches for FM, medium wave, shortwave 1 and shortwave 2, which means you can set this to any one of a number of different sort of stations. And obviously you have this dial, which you can see that little red blip going. It is changing stations. If you want to use it as a radio, it does have a telescopic aerial, and you can switch it into the on position, and you can determine, if we come a little closer, you can determine which battery pack you're using. But if I just switch this on, and it's currently set to FM, and I'm going to take that off because I don't want any copyright issues with music, but this will listen to FM, medium wave, which is a form that's in the AM spectrum, as well as shortwave radio. So you can pick up a lot of different stations all over the world with this. This also has a light. A light function which is next to the on-off switch. You can have the LED lighting on. You can set it to blink, or there is actually a siren effect for calling for help. To be honest, the siren isn't that loud, but it could be of use under certain circumstances. And the red blinky light, frankly, isn't very bright. But if, for example, you're walking several meters away from your tent in the pitch dark and you want to be able to find your way back to the tent, setting it up at the tent entrance and pointing it in the direction that you're planning on walking might make it rather easy to get back without having to stumble around in the dark too much. You have a standard output with USB, micro USB input, and an earphone jack. So like with the walkie-talkies, this particular device can be used as a power bank to charge other devices if necessary. So if you have it on a full charge, you can use it, but also you can use it to power things like your phone. It doesn't weigh very much. 265 grams or 9.3 ounces. In the grand scheme of things, I consider this a very useful tool because it allows you to keep in contact with the outside world, or at least receive information from the outside world to let you know what's going on. You can use it as a power bank. That's actually quite an advantage. It does have a flashlight or torch capability, and of course, unlike the ones that we used to have, for example, I had a similar kind of radio probably 15, 20 years ago. I still have it somewhere. But of course that uses a conventional light bulb, which would drain the batteries quite quickly, whereas these are on LEDs. And even if one or more of the LEDs burned out, there are 3 of them. So that's actually quite helpful. Again, it has a wide range of receiving frequencies, and if you simply look after this with a modicum of care, it'll do just fine. It'll a little bit fat, but then it needs that for the solar panel. Doesn't weigh very much, will fit in a pocket. So I consider this to be very useful. It's one of the kinds of things that you should have in your bug out kit or your 72-hour bag, because in a disaster, hearing messages being transmitted to those who are in need of assistance is a useful thing, obviously. And although this is not the only model, it is one that I personally found to be particularly good in terms of its capabilities, its weight, its size, and its price. So this is the one that I would recommend. Not sponsored, folks. I paid for it with my own money. But I do actually think it's a good one. That said, you may be watching this video many years in the future, and they may no longer make these, for all I know. If you're watching it in the here and now, there is a link in the description to where I bought this one. They're not expensive. And whether you choose this one or a different model, yeah, having a radio in your kit, a good idea. Anyway, I hope you found that interesting and helpful. As always, if you like this, please click like and consider sharing this. The more people that get to see these videos, the more good we can do in the world. Subscribe if you like my stuff. That helps. And I hope to see you in the next one. Have a good one.